The government shut down, but the stock market doesn't care one bit. New all-time highs were made today as we're heading into the most wonderful time of the year. We have some exciting events lined up for tomorrow as well. Today, we cover what's moving markets now, what to watch next, and much more. The stock market is going wild right now.
The SPY made another brand new all-time high as it continues to be resilient in 2025. Even as the government shut down, the S&P 500 continues to outperform this year, especially in a time of the year that is historically pretty negative. We can see just how consistent the S&P 500's price action was from open all the way until close today, pretty much going up throughout the entire trading day. And Mike, I know that we've been talking about a lot of government shutdown statistics, and they don't really paint as bloody of a picture as I think a lot of people would think. If we actually look at the S&P 500 returns during shutdowns, and I would say more specifically the previous 4 to 5 readings, we've actually had green readings across every single one going back into the 1990s. So that's a pretty crazy stat, and I am not too surprised that the market is going a bit green here, especially because the first half of October historically tends to be pretty bullish as well.
Definitely, and looking more at what's actually going on with this government shutdown, right now prediction markets are expecting this shutdown to last around 11 days or so, which is worth keeping in mind. Not saying that has a meaningful impact on how the stock market normally does, but what we can see is that over the past month, this September was actually the second best September for the S&P 500 going back 27 years, which says a lot. And what's really good, like you just mentioned, Tom, is that the first half of October tends to be pretty good, and more specifically, it is actually the third best 2-week period of the year.
That is a pretty crazy stat to say, especially after we're coming off of the second half of September, which is the worst 2-week period of the entire year. So we have this strange dynamic of going through a very negative portion of the year, going straight into a very nice 2-week portion of this year. And it is something to keep in your mind as we go through the fourth quarter, which has officially started. Yes, the fourth quarter is here, and historically the fourth quarter is actually the best period of the entire year for the stock market. We can see data going back to 1928 actually, so this is quite the historical data point here. It goes up on average in Q4 2.89%.
Yeah, and that's great to see. Looking at the market right now, Tom, what are some levels to keep close on watch? We're at all-time highs, so it's hard to complain too much, but what's on your radar for tomorrow? What should we look for?
One of the biggest levels that I'm really keeping in mind is 670. I thought it was pretty striking how SPY ran up in a crazy way today and actually got pretty close to $670. Now, it broke through the previous all-time high around 667.30. So that will be an area that I watch for as support tomorrow. Of course, if we pull under 667.30, there are a lot of areas to the downside. I personally like 665, 663.70, and ultimately 662, which is where we've seen a lot of bounces over the past few trading days. But I think the main thing to watch for with the SPY here is, can we continue to keep this great momentum going? Today was a great move out of the stock market. If we look at SPY from open, like I said it before, it pretty much went straight up all day with very minuscule pullbacks mixed in throughout this overall run, and it actually created a lot of buying opportunities. We can see different periods throughout the day where there were slight dips, and those ended up being good parts to end up, or good entries to buy with the SPY. So as I go into tomorrow, Mike, the main thing is watching for more momentum, and I would love to see 670 break. Once we started to break out above 667.30, the previous all-time high, SPY went on that nice end-of-day run there.
Yeah, 670 is the next major level. In the event we do see some selling or we do see a pullback, if you had to pick one or two levels, what would you look at for support?
I really think that 666 is one of my favorites. We had a lot of hits intraday here today, along with 666.50. This 50-cent range is pretty critical. It's actually the high from yesterday as well. And we can see how yesterday the market hit there right around market close and ended up rejecting back to the downside. So I would say 666 to 666.50. And then even the lower end of the range down here around 662 will be on watch in the event of a pullback.
Sounds good. And what's really nice about like those levels right around 666 to 666.50 is it's just under the previous all-time high, right around 667. So if we do see a retest of those levels, it will go to show that there is some meaningful selling pressure coming into play. If that happens, I will keep a close eye on these levels. But looking at the market for tomorrow, we did have a handful of economic events scheduled for the rest of this week. But for as long as the government shut down, this data is going to be basically paused. So there's really not much to say on this front. But Tom, we do have something that's arguably even a little bit more exciting, and that is Tesla's deliveries data. So what's going on there?
Yeah, it's pretty insane. So we're going to have some Tesla delivery numbers coming out. We'll get some sales data, and ultimately we'll get to see how Tesla has been performing in the previous quarter. Now, whenever I think about this, Mike, I initially saw a lot of FactSet analysts looking at year-over-year drops out of delivery data, but whenever I've started to research things a lot more, I actually saw a lot of people looking at the fact that the EV tax credit had expired. And what this did is a lot of buyers rushed in to still get and secure that EV tax credit whenever they bought a Tesla. So it helped fuel some extra sales in the last quarter. And I'll be very curious to see if Tesla can end up beating analysts' expectations or not. And in other words, Mike, Elon Musk became the first person ever to be worth more than $500 billion on the Forbes Billionaire Index. What a day.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And as we know, Tesla stock is definitely one of the key drivers of Elon's net worth. And basically relevant to this news is like the stock to watch for tomorrow. It popped up by 3.3% today, which is great to see, as it shows investors are pretty optimistic heading into this quarterly sales report. And Tom, I will say Tesla stock has been doing exceptionally well, and it's actually at the highest point it has been at this year, and we're getting closer to retesting that all-time high.
Yeah, we are. The all-time high is up around $488 and closer to $500, and we're not very far off, sitting around $460 here at market close. So yeah, not far off at all. We could possibly even hit it this week if the optimism continues to push this stock higher. And I will say, if we get good delivery data, that could be exactly what investors and what Tesla shareholders need for this stock to continue. So keep it on the radar for the next few days. It's one of the biggest stocks in the market, and it's one to continue to watch here. Mike, as far as the earnings go for the rest of the week, we are actually pretty clear, of course, as we can see here. Not too much on Thursday and Friday. There is nothing going on.
Sounds good. But one thing that certainly is moving quite a bit is this Trump RX program. We're seeing some pharmaceutical and healthcare stocks jump like we haven't seen them jump in a long time. Stocks like Pfizer, Eli Lilly, MRK, NVO, the ETF XLV from yesterday's video are all just crushing it to the upside. And for those of you who don't know, Trump RX is a newly announced federal government-run website where Pfizer and potentially other pharmaceutical companies will be able to sell certain drugs directly to U.S. consumers at discounted prices. This is part of a broader agreement between Pfizer and the White House to voluntarily cut medication prices, expand U.S. manufacturing, and avoid new pharma-specific tariffs. So this is significantly boosting investor confidence across this sector, and this is making for some insane moves. Everyone is looking at this area of the market right now.
They really are, and how can you not? Because Pfizer's risen 15% over the past 2 trading days, and I will say off of yesterday's price action, I think a lot of people thought that it was getting a little overextended, that the move might slow down, but it did not, and at open today, we had some very good, consistent price action back to the upside as well, and something that's also good about these healthcare stocks is that they generally have weak correlations to the market. So hey, if the market starts reacting in a weird way because the government is shut down or something, expect these stocks to move more of on their own. And we've been seeing that over the past few days, and some of these stocks are actually very low, Mike. Like if we go to daily charts, some stocks like NVO have actually been falling down to lows over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and Pfizer's had a rough past few years as well. What's really nice about these stocks is because normally they don't move that much. When they do move, their options just go beyond insane. For example, some of Pfizer's weekly calls today popped up between like 500 and 1,000%, and that's just today. That's not even including the move from yesterday. So keep a close eye on this area of the market. It's one of those types of situations where like it has a lot of news, and it's like, no one knows exactly when the trend is going to end, but to capitalize off it, you just have to ride the trend until it dies. And, if you're someone who is into like super short-term scalping, then obviously you'll want to give it less wiggle room than if you're someone who is looking to trade the broader multi-week or multi-month trend at hand.
100%. I will say, like you said, there is a great opportunity here. Just be aware that, that the trend could change. But for now, things are picking up and we're still seeing some amazing price action. Mike, talking about amazing price action, why don't we get into some of our plays and predictions for tomorrow? And with my first setup, I'm actually looking at Intel to the upside. Intel had some pretty good news today. They actually are in early talks to add AMD, yes, advanced money dispenser, as a foundry customer. This was reported today. There was also some good news with Micron as well. Micron has surged up 106% year to date. They also recently had some strong earnings and they've been moving. So I'm really watching these two chip stocks very closely here. I know that they have slight differences to them and different pieces of news as of why they are running. But nonetheless, Intel is up 7%. And if we look at it over the past couple of weeks, it has been explosive. There's been good news with an NVIDIA investment. The U.S. government has even taken a stake, and now they're exploring to add AMD as a foundry customer, which again is a pretty big deal for a company that had been beaten down like Intel had over the past few years. It's good to see Lip Bhutan getting on the high horse, so to say.
Love it, love it. Yeah, like one thing that I really like with Intel is there has just been so much good news lately, and the stock has just been beaten down to such a horrible point over the past few years. So this is great to see, and I know a lot of Intel long-term investors are very happy right now, including myself. Another stock that is definitely on watch is Netflix, but it's actually to the downside. So there's a whole lot going on with this, but basically there's reportedly widespread Netflix subscription cancellations happening right now. Elon even made an X post urging people to cancel as there's some controversy going on with it. Either way, there's a nice boost in negative investor perception with this one. It fell by 2.3% today, and I like the risk reward playing it to the downside. Right now, Netflix is trading right around the 1,170 mark. I think in the event we do see more selling come into play, I would not be surprised to see this stock get closer to that 1,140 mark, and that is what I'm looking at. And if we do see even like the momentum increase, it can get even lower. In the worst case scenario where Netflix pops back up, like let's say maybe above like 1183 or so, then in that situation the setup would just lose and be cut. But either way, I like the risk reward and it's on my radar.
Yeah, the RR is solid, and I did see Elon's post about that earlier today. It definitely had me thinking about Netflix, and whenever we see Netflix on like a daily chart, it is getting close to some pretty big supports. If these start to give out, things could get bloody. But with my next setup, I'm looking at Moderna. Yes, another healthcare stock. We can see Moderna is actually bouncing off of critical support around $23 to $24, and I really like this stock because it's one of the more beaten down healthcare stocks over the past year or so. In 2024, this stock peaked out around $170. Now it's trading for $27. So I found this to be a very nice support to watch for. Of course, if we do see the support break down over the next couple of months, then maybe cut and look to adapt to the downside. But as long as the support holds up and we're seeing good news in the healthcare sector, like we are with this Trump RX news, which is powering a lot of healthcare stocks up, then I will continue to watch for Moderna to recover. It's not necessarily just a play for tomorrow, although there is short-term potential here as well.
No doubt. Definitely agree with you there, as XLV is still on my bullish radar. I know we mentioned this one yesterday and it crushed it today. The price action was phenomenal. There's strong news driving this. And while the stock doesn't have to increase tomorrow, there's certainly asymmetric movement happening here. And there's a lot more buying than selling going on, which is only amplifying the move that we're seeing. So XLV is on my bullish radar. And besides that, Tom, how about we jump right into today's momentum plays? And with the first one, we have AST Space Mobile, ticker symbol ASTS, to the upside.
Yeah, they had a pretty nice day, up 16%, as we can see in the bottom right corner of the screen. But if they break out above 57.50, then watch them to the upside.
With the next one, we have Super Micro Computer, ticker symbol SMCI, also to the upside.
Look at how consistent the intraday price action was with SMCI. If they can break out above 52.50, then watch them up as well.
And then with the last one, we have Wells Fargo, ticker symbol WFC, but to the downside.
Yeah, unfortunately, the banks didn't have the best day today. If they fall under $80.80, then watch WFC down.
All right, so we have these three tickers on the radar for potential continuations tomorrow, if and only if they break through the levels listed. As always, how you trade is much more important than what you trade. Focus on making smart, long-term oriented trading decisions. If you want to learn more information about this, you can learn for free in the Key Lessons channel of the Stocked Up Discord. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's $1.25 million big money trade, and we are looking at ticker symbol IRT. Today, the trader here bought the $17.50 strike call options for December 19th of 2025. Ticker symbol IRT is in a stock that owns and operates multifamily apartment properties across the country. The stock has pulled back a decent amount over the past few years, but has been uptrending pretty strongly in a broader sense. The trader here is positioning themselves to profit from a bounce back to the upside. What I do like about this setup here is that these call options are a little bit far out of the money, but not too far out of the money, kind of like yesterday's trade where it makes it like excessively risky. These options also have a decent amount of time to them as well. And the stock is, showing some decent signs of holding this support right around $16 a share. I think it's definitely an interesting setup, and I'm excited to see how it does.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the big money getting into this one as the stock is falling. It does seem like they're trying to catch a potential dip on this one. It is a little risky, like you said, being slightly out of the money with the 1750 strikes. It has a couple of months of time to it as well, so it's probably not necessarily a play for tomorrow, but maybe for the next few weeks to a month or so. I do think it's an interesting one, though, how much it is fallen down in the short term. You know, if we look at this stock, it peaked out around 22 at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, and now it's trading for around that 1639 point. I like how you mentioned $16, Mike. That is a very critical support where we've seen a lot of bounces in the past, and I will be watching for that level to potentially hold up once again. And again, that would just make for the perfect dip buy here. I think it's a good snipe by the big money, trying to catch this one while it's nearing the overall support level.
Definitely. So let's keep it close on watch. It's also a $1.25 million trade, so there's a decent amount of capital put into it. Let's keep it close on the radar. But if you are new to the channel, welcome, and definitely consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. Every single day, we cover multi-million-dollar big money trades just like this one, as well as the most important news, information, chart setups, SPY levels and analysis, historical statistics, and everything you need to know about the market and more. When you subscribe, you'll get our videos recommended to you more often. And also, we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Carl Clark in the Stocked Up Discord, who really crushed it with a ticker symbol AES today, just under $12,000 in profits. So huge shout out to you, and keep up the great work going forward. If you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below to get full access to the Stocked Up trading floor. This will show you the daily big money trades every single day before we talk about them in the nightly videos, as well as our army of custom trading robots. You can get access to our weekly live events and basically everything you could need as a short-term trader. Today's SurgeBot plays and high risk scalps channel was definitely pretty crazy to say the least. A lot of these pharmaceutical stocks like LOY, MRK, BMY, and others really went crazy. Of course, there were a handful of duds sprinkled in there as well, but the 676% and 632% gains with LOY and MRK definitely stood out. If you want to get in on the action, use code BIGMONEY at checkout. The link for that is in the description in the comments down below. It's the lowest price possible for the floor, but besides that, thank you all so much for watching. We're set for a very exciting day in the market tomorrow. Don't forget about the Tesla deliveries data set to release in the morning. And of course, the market is putting a lot of pressure on recent highs, so it should be fun. Thanks for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.